Good morning, Black Walnut. Today I am going to have you guys analyze some photographs from the Tulsa Race Massacre using the OPTIC analyzing strategy. And so the slideshow had kind of an overview of what to do when you're using that strategy. But in this video, I'm going to do an example with you using an image from the Race Massacre and using the exact document you will be using that has the same guiding questions. So first I want you to think about what we're trying to accomplish by analyzing these photographs. In the slideshow I mentioned, what's in a name? Should this be called the Tulsa Race Riot or should it be called the Tulsa Race Massacre? So we've seen some factual information this week, some firsthand interviews, some documents from the Red Cross, some literature around what happened. And now we're going to use some images to try and build some meaning about this story. Is it a riot or is it a massacre? So the image that I'm going to use today is from Oklahoma State University's collection. It's this image right here. And when we go through to do the OPTIC strategy, it's going to ask for the title and who the creator is. And that information is down here at the bottom. But the first part of what we're going to do is O, which is the overview. And the overview is just me describing what is happening in the image, just the overall gist. Not a ton of details, just basically what is happening. So when I look at this image, I can see plumes of smoke. I see what looks like a destroyed home here at the bottom of the image. There's a home intact here. There's a person up on the roof going into the second story of this person's home. I know this image is from the Tulsa Race Massacre, so it must have been in what was considered the colored part of town. So it's in the Greenwood district. Can't really tell the race of the person going in, but I can see down here these people look to be white community members. So in my overview, I'm just going to type, there are homes and other buildings, if I can spell, on fire. People are gathered around, and one person is going into one of the homes. Okay, the next section is parts. So when we're thinking about analyzing the photograph, we're looking at some of the individual parts that make up this image. Is the image in color? Is it in black and white? We're going to talk some more about those buildings or people and describe them in detail using imagery and descriptive words. So I'm going to use more adjectives rather than there are people. I'm going to talk about what kind of people, what are they doing, what do they look like. So let's go back to our photograph. So I can see immediately that this photo is in black and white, which leads me to believe that it probably is from 1921 when it claims to be, because it seems to have all of those kind of older photograph features. Now the people that are gathered below, they're not trying to put out any fires. I can tell that. This guy has his hands on his hips, so does this guy here. And then the person up here at the top going into the house doesn't seem, they don't have any kind of protective gear, and they don't really seem like they're concerned or running into the house. So they're just kind of casually going in. So I'm going to put that in my image. And then the building here looks as though it's somebody's home, somebody's house. I don't see any kind of like office buildings around. So this looks like it's in a neighborhood. So in my parts section, I'm going to say the image is in black and white, which leads me to believe that it is an older photo. The burning buildings are homes and look to be in a neighborhood. The people who are standing around do not seem to want to put out the fire. The man going into the home on the second floor does not seem to be in a hurry, and several of the men below have their hands on their hips. And I don't know if I am being bold to say this, but I really am going to put, I don't see that any of these people are African Americans. So I'll just mention, because when we think about the history of this event, we know that it's racially motivated. So I'll mention that the people look to be white. Okay. Next part, the title. So I'm going to think about what is the title of the image that I chose. If there are any words in the image that I'm not sure of, I'm going to look in a dictionary to figure out what that means. Because sometimes the title can tell us really what our image or anything is about. And I'm going to look to see who created this image. Sometimes the people who create the images, if we know enough about them, have a big part of what story is trying to be told and what message is trying to be conveyed. So that's where I'll scroll down here. This is my image. I'm going to see that the title is called William Walker's House and Looter. I see that the date that it was made was 1921. That seems right. And when I look at the title, Looter, and it has a description, it says a looter enters the second story as bystanders watch other houses burning in a smoke-filled sky from the race massacre of 1921. And then it just says that Walker's house faced north on Frankfort Street between Cameron and Easton Streets. So when I went to do my describing in my parts section, I was kind of right. Those were not people who lived in the neighborhood. And a looter is somebody who goes and robs abandoned buildings of people's items. So that's not right at all. So here I go. I'm going to say the title of the image is William Walker's House and Looter. And I'll just put a looter is someone who robs from abandoned, or I'll just put uninhabited buildings. Now I did not have a name of who took this photograph, so I'll just put, oops, let's see, make sure I spell it right. I'll just put that the creator is unknown, but the description says that these people were in a place where they were not supposed to be. All right. Now the I, interrelationships. This one seems like kind of a tough one because what it's asking me to do is take those little individual parts, like the man on the building, people with their hands on their hips, smoke-filled neighborhoods and homes, and take those individual parts of the image and kind of talk about how they build the story or the message. So the relationship that I notice in this image is that I can tell from what I know and what I see here is that these white people who are in this neighborhood are not there to help. And in fact, the description told me they're there to take things that do not belong to them from people whose homes have been destroyed and who may likely be dead. And that kind of can say, I see nobody here trying to help their neighbors. Everyone is just standing around and watching people go through these homes. So the relationship that I see, let's say the men with their hands on their hips and the looter entering the home on the right, while the rest of the neighborhood burns. Shows me that they are not there to help. They don't seem to be concerned about whether there are people inside who are in danger, or how to put out any burning fires. All right, and finally, my conclusion. So what story do I think the image is telling? And when you look at your image, the conclusion is where I want you to put the most words. So I want you to do about 5 to 7 sentences, writing a really good paragraph describing the whole story of the image that I chose and how you came to understand the meaning of that story. So from this image, I can see the horrific actions of people involved in the incident of burning Greenwood. White community members are not helping. They are robbing these families who have lost everything. And they seem to have enough people to control at least some fires if they chose to. This shows me that the white community who claimed to want to protect the Greenwood district, in fact, use that as an excuse to take everything from innocent, I'm going to put innocent people. And finally, do I think the incident that happened in Tulsa in 1921 should be called a riot or a massacre? This is where you're going to explain, after you've looked through the slideshow, there are 2 definitions in the slideshow explaining what a riot is and what a massacre is. And you'll use this to explain your thoughts. What do you think happened? I can't wait to see what you come up with. Always remember when you're analyzing historical events to think about perspective. Think about what story is trying to be told, and that can be through words, through audio interviews, and through pictures. So if you guys need any help, come find me this afternoon on office hours. I'll have a Zoom open. Other than that, have a great Thursday, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.